Same in Mauna Loa. So, and Hualalai, west side of the island, no surface flow unless there's flood, and even that's temporary. South side, east side, no surface flow. No erosion to give us valleys, streams, and waterfalls. We start to see that on the east side or right side of Mauna Kea at 3/4 of a million years old. The surface is not that old, but the volcano is. That's where we're going to be descending to, which will put us right uphill of Hilo Bay. So let's go take a jaunt through the native forest here, which is going to be mostly state of Hawaii land. There's definitely some federal forest, Volcano National Park property coming down off our left, but also some like Fish and Wildlife Service land holdings for critical species habitat. All this clouded area is much thicker, and usually the 200 to 300 inches of rain belt here where the clouds pack against the east side of these two really tall volcanoes. It's because of the mountains that we get the rainfall like that, and kind of runs the weather for the island here. Hey, make a call. Beautiful area. You see, not scarring. I never call lava flows scars. You know, that's growth elevationally. See them overlapping older flows that had established lush forests, sometimes thousands of years old. You know? Especially this really lush green area. Old growth, koa, sandalwood, kauila, ohia. At a slow descent. We're gonna get below this curtain. Just checking a recording here. You guys can see about 10 o'clock. Some of that black streaking there is some of that 1984 flow. And again, it's a rift. A rift zone is a fault. Why do we have a buildup in like a ridge line, fault line? Because underground there's a tunnel. There's a lot of plumbing and arteries underground. Unlike cone-shaped volcanoes that only erupt out of the caldera, these can erupt off the sides. So there's a northeast rift zone off your left of Mauna Loa. And let's go and fly down the tip of that flow. Yeah, out in front of us under the clouds, it gets a little camouflaged by all that gray lichen that grows on the flow, so it doesn't stand out black like it does up here off of Elizabeth's side here. So, good to point it out now. Yeah, most of the species in Hawaii, guys, are plants, insects, and birds. The only terrestrial or a land-based mammal we have in Hawaii, native to Hawaii, is a small bat. It's not abundant. And I don't know if it's listed endangered or what, or if it was ever very abundant, but I've only seen it once in Waipio Valley, fishing at night, because it was not one of the seabird, shorebird, forest bird, any kind of other bird call that I would be familiar with as a biologist. So I started shining my headlight. Oh, there's the bat. So great, get to check that off my list. Saw this species, but never worked on it. But a lot of birds, insects, and plants. Yeah? So as we come down over some of the rainforest plants, I mentioned sandalwood, that would ring a bell. Yeah? But we have mint, raspberry, gardenia, a relative of the olive and peppercorn. You get into coastal desert areas, there's a cotton and poppy. Yeah. Palm trees. What about palm trees in Hawaii? Everybody thinks right off the bat, coconut tree. That's not native to Hawaii, nor can that float in the currents to get to Hawaii. Yeah, that's more southern, more equatorial latitudes where they're native to. It's possible. You have this gigantic storm shift all currents in the Pacific. It's possible, but was a Polynesian introduction. We have fan palms, and I see a lot of the fan palms at a certain elevation down between us and Hilo City over there under the clouds. Yeah? Those are remnants, they're Prochardias, they're all endangered, there's several species. I like bringing people through this area, which you guys see is not riddled with road system. Yep. There's not any plans to cut more roads and arteries through here for campgrounds and hiking trails. We have a lot of that already. And those would just be arteries and avenues for weedy species, bugs, funguses, you know, any kind of things that aren't out here to alter, you know, composition of species in what's nearly pristine forest. Yeah. We have microorganisms like funguses blowing around the island, and if you see die-offs out here, that's probably what it's due to. Yeah. So rattle off some plants. The birds, we have migratory ducks come from the west coast and all the way down near Mexico. Migratory shorebirds that come and go with the humpback whales. They're here already a little earlier, preceding the humpback whales. They go to the tundras in Alaska, like the golden plover and ruddy turnstones, bristle-thighed curlews, you know, and some unusual things. We have forest birds, the flightless birds, all extinct. The most vulnerable, right? All extinct, whether disease, predation, loss of habitat, loss of food, climatic change, all extinct. Here, under us, it's crawling with birds. A lot of small finches, honey creepers, and flycatchers. They all have a common descendant genetically. Kind of like the Galapagos finches. They all have common descendants. Yeah? Same. Isolated, only certain resources. We still have one owl, one hawk, a crow, goose, and the duck you would find where we have natural wetlands, Kauai and Oahu. We do not have that here. You know, you're not going to see them here. Nor the wetland birds like the stilt and coot and moorhen. But yeah, a lot of owls and hawks. One species of each. Both are out during the day. Those are larger than most and more visible. Yeah. So if you see an owl during the day, that's a dead giveaway. That's the Hawaiian pueo species. Looks like an owl. Yep. There's this 84 flow off our left. Kind of with the tint on my sunglasses. It looks brownish gray, purplish, but it ends right in front of us, 4 miles away from cutting into the community. Yep. That's close. 1984. And there's where we started, Hilo City, the second largest city. One moment. Just making a call here. Alright, we're on with air traffic control. Got a couple of trucks down there to the left. That's good size reference. So it's a little over a quarter mile wide. Third of a mile wide maybe. Thick. It's probably 20 feet plus thick. You see the sprout up there. It starts with like small moss, lichen and fern, a flightless cricket and wolf spider. Then there's a regime shift and a kind of a pushing out to what you see around here, this lushness. This is, it's got some age, but it's not super old, yeah, but ohia trees, tree fern, staghorn fern, and I'm actually seeing dotted around us are some of those native fan palms. If you guys see anything that looks like a palm tree in the forest, I see some on the left. Trying to look to the right there. Gonna cross the Saddle Road. It's probably took this in or at some point here driven this road. Fastest way east and west. We're on the east end.